Welcome to the big show, everyone. Oh my gosh, we said this would probably backfire, and we weren't kidding. Now, were we? Here on the Trish Regan Show. The House has voted to release all emails, and some of them are coming out right now as we speak. And let's just say they're not making the Democrats look very good. No, Hakeem Jeffries is caught in a very compromising position. I'm going to get into that. It's all coming as we learn that Representative Plaskett, who's the Democrat from the Virgin Islands, and was apparently soliciting advice on how to ask questions during the 2019 hearing with Michael Cohen from none other than Jeffrey Epstein. Well, she's in a little bit of trouble, and any moment now she is about to be censured. It all comes as MBS is back at the White House and offering to put a ton of money into the U.S. So Donald Trump's very excited about the deal, but things got a little testy, shall we say, with one of the ABC reporters, and now he's calling on the FCC to just, boom, revoke the license. Oh, this should be interesting. Watch what he said.
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who...
Yes. The money thing's kind of a problem. The friendships are kind of a problem. The text messages, the soliciting of funds, all kind of a problem. And wow, Hakeem Jeffries getting confronted with all of it at this hour. He is being exposed for trying to take, we should say, soliciting Epstein cash. Yeah, his campaign apparently wanted this soliciting. I'm just going to change our lower third in real time if I can spell and type at the same time. Soliciting for trying to get Epstein cash. And this is more than just from Comer. I'm going to go to the email exchange that has been unveiled. You guys, we said this would happen, okay? And here you are. You got an email where basically, take a look at this. The campaign, the subject's called Rising Star. Oh, please. They're calling him Brooklyn's Barack. I mean, I'm no fan of Barack Obama, but you're really looking for the poor version of it when you go to Hakeem Jeffries. We are thrilled to announce that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack. He is a staunch supporter of President Obama and a progressive voice for the people of New York. So they're going on and on and on, and they want to basically get a relationship going between one Hakeem Jeffries and Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, guys, take a look at the note. It says at the top, this is to Jeffrey Epstein, 5/7/2013. So don't forget, he got out of prison for all the reasons that we know in 2009. So they had, 2009 in the back pocket. I mean, most people were like, okay, I better not hang out with Jeffrey anymore. I mean, unless you're Larry Summers and you're still soliciting lady advice. He's the ladies' man, Jeffrey Epstein. And, unless you're in the Clinton camp. But apparently, Hakeem Jeffries was stupid enough to be trying to hit up this guy in his pocketbook. So it's all coming out. And boy, I'll tell you, the Republicans are going to have a field day with this one. They should have never, ever wished for this. What did I say from the beginning? If there was anything good there, we would have heard about it. I mean, they had 4 whole stinking years. We could have heard about it. They did everything else they could think of. I should mention, by the way, Eric Trump's coming on the show. He's got a best-selling book, New York Times, #1 bestseller. He's going to talk about exactly his reaction and his thoughts on what his dad is doing vis-a-vis the release of these Epstein files. But first, over to Comer. Okay, this is not Comer. We want Comer. We're going to go back for a second. Let me bring you to Comer right here. James Comer speaking about
colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch. The files underscore why former President Trump must appear for his deposition. We've subpoenaed him. To date, the Democrats have done nothing to help us secure his appearance. I support full transparency. The Oversight Committee will continue to work to get the truth to the American people and to get justice for the victims. That's our goal of this investigation. With that, I yield back.
Okay.
The gentleman's back.
All right.
Yeah,
All
Mr.
right.
Speaker, we
So
reserve. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Good. And again, we got Stacey Plaskett right now, apparently about to be censured. And so I want to go to her testimony on the floor. She's losing it in real time. Absolutely losing it. But I want to be precise in our wording. So he was seeking cash. It's not clear that he got any cash, but I'll tell you, I mean, the crowd that Epstein was hanging with, let's just say those weren't the Republicans. I mean, you know, I'm sure Matt Gaetz would have had a wonderful friendship with the guy. But for the most part, those were not Republicans. Those were all Democrats. No offense against Matt, but I've seen some stories in People magazine recently. Anyway, Hakeem Jeffries, he's being exposed for seeking. Again, we're going to change our graphic because we want to be precise, seeking Epstein cash. And this is per Comer, per the emails that have been revealed. Now, a lot of things are coming forward at this moment. As I told you, Plaskett, Democrat Plaskett, looks like she's going to be censured this evening, as early as this evening. Stacey Plaskett is totally losing it as she's realized, you know what? Things are not looking good. She is about to be censured any moment right now. So we're watching that carefully on the House floor as we see what the decision is likely to be. But it's 214 to 213 at present. So likely coming forward, she's totally losing it. I just want to go back in time to the reason why this is an issue. This is an issue because the Democrat from the Virgin Islands, who's a non-voting member, but is able to ask questions and, you know, hear testimony, etc. She decided to ask Epstein some questions, and she went, she decided to literally ask him some questions via text message. She was questioning Michael Cohen, and it's all come out. The Washington Post. I mean, this is not like, you know, Breitbart or something. We love Breitbart, but this was not Breitbart. This is WAPO. So they went through and they looked at all these video feeds and they matched.
Barack Obama was president of the United
They
States.
basically matched
and while we were once
the text messages
neighborhood in Chicago,
that were coming through, the text messages that were coming through with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to just get my little graphic for the Trish Regan shot out of the way.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record, yes or no?
You see this?
Yes.
Okay, so she's asking about Rona. She doesn't, you know, is that it?
Or were involved in the campaign as a representative spokesman.
Is that like some kind of special word? No, that's his assistant. By the way, everybody knew that was his assistant. Like, you couldn't be a reporter in New York City and not know Rona Graff. And then here she goes.
Other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump organization?
They are.
Are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot that went on.
Yeah, okay. And look at what happens. 2 minutes later, Jeffrey Epstein writes, good work, baby. You did your job, okay? You understand? Who's really involved in all of this? He's conspiring with the Virgin Islands rep in real time to make sure that she gets certain things out there that they think is going to help the case. So I just got to go back to, whose side do you think Jeffrey Epstein was on? Jeffrey Epstein was on the side of the Democrats. Those were his friends. I mean, think Reid Hoffman, think Bill Clinton, think poor Larry Summers, who's just had to completely bow out of public life because he's so humiliated from all his texts and clearly his very bad relationship techniques. Here's Stacey, in the meantime, just moments ago, totally losing it on the House floor because she knows her days are numbered. The woman's about to be censured because, heck, she's talking to Jeffrey Epstein, and now she's trying to justify it. I'm sorry. Hakeem, you shouldn't have been looking for money, and Stacey, you shouldn't have been taking money. You knew the drill. It was only when it got exposed that you decided to hand it back. And on top of it all, you shouldn't have been getting information from him for the Michael Cohen testimony. I mean, it's obvious to me, but apparently not to this lady.
Mr. Raskin, to my former professor in law school, and I want to address the body. I first want to give you all a sense of what was happening that day. Everyone knows at that hearing in February, the entire country was watching. As Michael Cohen decided he was going to finally give up information about what was happening in the Trump world, the Trump enterprise. And at the beginning of that hearing, the ranking member, Jim Jordan, had the disrespect to Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace and his name be a memory, after not allowing Mr. Jordan to shut the committee hearing down. And I turned to Mr. Jordan and told him to have respect for the chair and to basically shut up.
Ooh.
And that moment went viral. And I began to get innumerable texts from friends, from foes, from constituents about what was happening in that hearing. And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation. And
okay, can I just say something? It's like the lady's never been in the public eye before. All of a sudden, whoa, I went viral. And so, I got to take some advice from the likes of Jeffrey Epstein. That's my idea. Oh, okay. I've never been used to being on TV before. So suddenly everybody and their cousin is suddenly texting me. And I'm going to use that as my excuse. Now I'm going to listen to Jeffrey. No, honey. No.
Who is sharing information with me. Now, I heard recently from someone that I was seeking advice from him. Let me tell you something. I don't need to get advice on how to question anybody from any individual.
Woo! Clearly you did. Okay, you did. Because you asked him who Rona was. You had no clue. Again, any moron reporter like New York, sorry, nothing against New York one, but you know what I mean, like local news reporter is gonna know who Rona is. And if you had done any due diligence, my goodness, you got quite a little team assembled behind you there, Ms. Plaskett. They should have done their due diligence. They should have known who the executive assistant is in the Donald Trump office. Like, it's not that hard. Just call and pick up the phone and call and you're going to get Rona. Okay. It's not that hard, but you didn't do your due diligence. You don't know how to question. You had no research, and on the fly, you're relying on a guy. I'm not going to use the P word, but that's what he is. We're trying to keep it clean here on the Trish Regan show today. You know exactly what he is. It's despicable. It's disgusting. And yet you were willing to take his money. You were willing to take his advice. Don't try and tell us otherwise. Listen to the rest of her. She really is freaking out. You can hear it in her voice, like the anxiety is creeping in.
I have been a lawyer for 30 years.
Hey.
I have been a narcotics prosecutor in New York City. I have had the honor of being a political appointee at the Justice Department after September 11th as a Republican appointee in the Bush administration.
Oh, you are the bomb.
I know how to question individuals. I know how to seek information. I have sought information.
You understand this is all about her ego. She's like, how dare you think that I not know? But we've just been through it. She had absolutely no preparation. The lovely ladies behind her not doing their job. Anyone should have known who Rona was.
From confidential informants, from murderers, from other individuals, because I want the truth. Not because I need them to tell me what to say. And if you look at the transcript, you will see that I questioned.
You're hearing it in the voice? If you look at the transcript.
Michael Cohen for 5 minutes. The
Wow.
Washington Post only shows you 30 seconds and takes from it.
Oh, but they were a good 30 seconds.
One individual's name that I got from, Jeffrey Epstein, and didn't know who the individual was, and put that individual with a host of other individuals that I felt the committee should subpoena. They've never been subpoenaed. They've never been questioned. Because at the end of the day, I know that in the Trump administration and with my colleagues over there, it's not about sexual assault. It's not about support of victims. It's about money. It is about money.
Well, you wanted it, lady. I mean, for goodness sakes, you took at least 8,100 that we know of. There was the 30,000 that you took, by the way, after 2009. You had no answer for that. Okay, so she's spiraling. She's panicked. She does not know what to do. But keep in mind, this woman, she was taking money from him. And apparently advice too. And this came up actually in a call with a C-SPAN caller. I want to go to this right now.
Does Representative Plaskett have anything to say? Business Insider has reported on this as recently as, I believe, July of 2023, about meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in 2018 and receiving $30,000 of campaign contribution.
Jeffrey Epstein was a resident of the Virgin Islands. He wanted to make contributions to the Democratic Party. He asked for contributions. He made contributions to my campaign. I do believe that he was a reprehensible person. And after finding out what he had done, I gave the money that he had contributed to my campaign to nonprofit organizations dealing with supporting women and children in my community.
Well, between Hakeem Jeffries being exposed for trying to take some money and now Stacey completely losing it as she faces now censure. I mean, guys, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Again, the House set to vote tonight on this measure censuring Democrat Stacey Plaskett for being in contact with the late convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. You've got lawmakers. By the way, I should just point out, breaking right now, we have just learned, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. The Senate now has confirmed. So I want to put that on the screen for you at this moment. The Senate has confirmed that in fact, they are also allowing for the release of these files. So that means this will go to the President of the United States, and it is expected, of course, that he will sign for their release as well. Senate votes to release Epstein files. So now it is a done deal. Big stuff right now. The House voted, the Senate voted, now it goes to the president's desk for signature. So maybe by Monday, we're going to know a whole lot more. I mean, we're going to get a lot more, maybe even in the coming days, because this is all moving very, very quickly. Don't forget Donald Trump making the decision, making the call that really there was far more for them to lose than for him to lose. And it had become too great a distraction, frankly, for the country. And focus was being taken away from the good things that were going on, economically speaking, and the more good things that he wants to bring in. And everything was getting drained by this Epstein story. So part of the motivation here was to say, okay, let's just put this thing to bed. I suspect, I don't know this for a fact, but, if you look at the one person that voted against this, I believe was it Clay Higgins? Because it was unanimous, right, in the House, except for one voter. And I think his rationale was, gosh, there's going to be a lot of personal information that's coming out, and it's kind of sad. And he said, I don't really want to have that. Like, I don't really want, so here, let me go to what he said here. This is, again, Higgins writing on X. He said, look, I've been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today, and the bill is to basically allow for all of this information to come out. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures hundreds or rather thousands, I should say, of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc., if enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigation files released to the rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt, not by my vote, he said. So he was the one sort of lone soldier out there who would not vote for this, but the Senate has confirmed that they're in agreement, of course, with the House. The president has already said, go for it. What do we got to lose? Higgins making this point, and I would not be surprised. I actually wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Donald Trump has already been cleared from all of this. He excommunicated Epstein years ago and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. So he's kind of, at least as far as we can see, right? As far as we know, he's totally in the clear. The Democrats are not in the clear, and all the people on the peripheral are not in the clear. So I would not be surprised, because he actually is a pretty tender-hearted guy, if part of him was sort of in the Higgins camp. Like, wait a second, do we really want to be ruining the reputations and lives of all of these people? And I get it. We get a rabid media. Look, the media is what the media is, but I think a lot of people feel like you have these elites that were doing things they never should have been doing, that are just so awful. And we don't know. Like Larry Summers now is caught up in this. And, I don't think the president has any love lost for Larry Summers. But again, you're looking at this and saying, okay, what if he didn't do anything bad and he's just looking to Epstein for advice, and now all this information comes out, right? So you have like people that are going to be victims in the process. And that's just, I guess, the way the cookie crumbles. And the president made that decision, it just wasn't worth it anymore. And so now here we are with the Senate voting to release the files, with the president saying he's releasing the files. And now Stacey Plaskett, the first casualty of this entire thing, the Democrat from the Virgin Islands, who is under fire for having taken money which had to be given back from one Jeffrey Epstein long after, right? He had gotten out of prison in 2009. So there's that. And then she was literally taking his advice on how to question Michael Cohen. So pretty wacky stuff. And yes, she is losing it. I want to go back to her testimony.
Raskin, to my former professor in law school.
So let's go back to Stacey.
Administration and with my colleagues over there, it's not about sexual assault. It's not about support of victims. It's about money.
Whoa. So here's the thing. Okay, didn't we just hear a different story from the Democrats, like, I don't know, a couple days ago, right? Like, they've been rabid. They can't wait to get their hands on these files. Oh, my goodness. And here she is saying, oh, it's not about that. But I thought it was about that. Like, your team was claiming it was all about that. Let's keep going.
It is about money. I have consistently stood against sexual violence and the exploitation of women and children in previous careers, as well as here in this body. We all know that Jeffrey Epstein's actions were absolutely reprehensible. As a constituent, as an individual who gave donations to me, when I learned of the extent of his actions after his investigation, I gave that money to women's organizations in my community.
No excuse. You know why? You should have known. Like, this was a matter. You're a congresswoman, for goodness sakes. This was like a matter of public knowledge. I mean, you're taking money in 2013 or whenever it was. He was out in 2009. Everybody knew. I mean, it became such a big deal. People are concerned because why would anybody still be hanging out with him? Larry Summers has repeatedly apologized in the last couple of days. He's stepping down from any kind of public position he'd have. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary under Clinton. Why? Oh, you see, because he shouldn't have kept the relationship going with a guy who was known to be, the rest. I don't even like talking about it. I can't even believe I have to do this story, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and it just got turned on its head. Hakeem Jeffries, Stacey Plaskett, watch out, there's more.
Not back to him, but to women in the community who needed that support. That's what I think should have been done, and that's what I did. They've taken a text exchange which shows no participation, no assistance, no involvement in any illegal activity, and weaponized it for political theater. Because that's what this is.
Really?
This has been reviewed by federal courts. Any charges, victims who initially had a case against
So
me.
I find this fascinating. Now they're calling it political theater. When she's the casualty. Now it's just political theater. A couple of days ago, I mean, Chuck Schumer kept saying, why won't the president release these things? Remember how upset he was? And then finally he's like, oh, hell yeah, let's just go ahead and release them. And now, Chucky boy, what are you going to do? We ran this on the shorts feed. I got to show you because this is hysterical. The reporter asked him, they're like, okay, so like, you know, why didn't you do this? You had 4 whole years. You'd think you would do it, right? Oh, not Chucky. He decided to wait until it was politically more of an opportunity, I guess. Yeah, so now he had the opportunity, figured why not? Chucky, this is kind of the point. You guys had the documents for 4 years.
Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released? When you don't want something like this released, when even a whole lot of Republicans are calling for the release, his own party members, people ask the question, what's he hiding?
Of course, you guys could have released him. And actually, he just called for their release. But I don't know, Chucky. This Epstein stuff seems to be driving you a little cuckoo. Right? So they're all going to be in trouble. I mean, she's like, oh, it's just a few texts. Well, you know, when there's smoke, there's fire. I'm curious to see all of these files because I have a feeling representative from the Virgin Islands is probably going to be in there plenty, along with a whole lot of other people. I mean, look, Larry Summers, he's like one of the first casualties. He's going down because he was getting all this advice, and there will be more. In fact, the president has warned about this. Let's go to the president of the United States saying, hey, you know, okay, you want to play this game? I want to focus on the economy. I want to focus on affordability. You guys want to focus on Epstein? Go for it. We'll see how that works out for you.
We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others are all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. But they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. You know, they cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
Pretty amazing, right? So talking about turning it on its head. Again, we are telling you tonight about Hakeem Jeffries being exposed for seeking Epstein money after Epstein had already been convicted and done time for his disgusting problems. And the representative from the Virgin Islands, not only did she take money, she had to give it back once that was exposed, but she was taking his advice in the 2019 testimony where they were trying to get Trump. So effectively, they're all colluding here, right, to get Trump. And there's going to be much more where that came from. If you're just tuning in right now, we have learned that the Senate has officially passed this bill allowing for the reveal, the expose of all of these files. So it's all coming out, every single little last bit of it. And I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene is happy about that. She seems to think that this is entirely her doing. Not quite. And I think even if it were, she's now run the risk of alienating the entire party. Marjorie Taylor Greene, whom the nickname has been issued from one Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is really seemingly unstable. She has been unstable in my estimation for quite a long time. We don't really talk about her much on the show, in part because it's not worth giving her the oxygen. But right now, she's out there saying, well, this isn't enough. This isn't enough. Listen, honey, it's enough. You're going to get it all. Unfortunately, they do need to maybe protect some people. I realize you don't want to protect any of the victims, I guess. You just want it all up in the open. But a lot of it's coming out. But for her, because I don't know what's going on, I think she realizes she can't win in Georgia anymore. And the president told her that much. He told her, like, Marjorie, it's not happening for you. You don't have the support. And so now she's just trying to figure out her next move. Maybe she figures she can't actually, be in elected office anymore. So is this sort of a goal to maybe transition into something else, maybe to get one of those seats on the couch, on The View? Or, MSNBC, they're trying to hire some conservatives. I mean, this is about something other than Trump, about something other than Epstein. But let's listen to her outside the Capitol today.
While I want to see every single name released so that these women don't have to live in fear and intimidation, which is something I've had a small taste of in just the past few days, just a small taste. They've been living it for years. But the real test will be, will the Department of Justice release the files? Or will it all remain tied up in investigations? Will the CIA release the files? Will a judge in New York release the information? That's information that needs to come out. Okay, so
this is what she's going to keep going on and on about, even though, what have they released? The president said 15,000 pages. I thought it was actually 20,000, but much, much more to come. If you really want to understand why Marjorie Taylor Greene is seemingly spinning out of control, she's against everything, right? She was against the tariffs. She was against the president negotiating with China. She was against the release. Well, she wanted the release of the documents when the president was first saying, well, maybe we need to protect people. She's been basically against him on everything, including his support for Israel. And the real reason why she's doing this is, according to Scott Jennings, exactly what I said. In other words, she has no political future, and it's freaking her out. Let's watch.
Based on what I've heard and what I know, that he didn't tell her not to run, but what she didn't say was that he sent her a poll privately, discreetly, and it had information in it. And it showed her down 20 points to John Ossoff. And so in politics, when you want to send a message to someone that you like or that has been an ally, you don't embarrass them publicly. You privately send them information and show them what the reality is. And so I think it's true that he didn't tell her not to run, but it's also true that he did her a big favor, which is to show her information that a candidacy statewide in Georgia for her would have been a disaster.
Disaster.
Congresswoman, thank you for being here.
With a capital D. Okay, so what is she doing? Oh, she's going on CNN. She's going on The View. Pretty soon MSNBC is going to be in the works. She's looking for her next gig, okay? So she doesn't think she can get elected. She wanted to be governor. She wanted to run for Senate. None of it is happening. And Trump was the bearer of the bad news. So she's got a little bit of an axe to grind. I've always thought she's been a tad, dare we say, unstable. Joining me right now with a look at some of these issues, I'm so happy to welcome onto the program. I spoke with him a little earlier today. This is Eric Trump, the son of President Trump, who has the #1 bestseller for the New York Times. And by the way, he told me, you have no idea how hard it is to be on that as #1 as a Trump, right? Like, you got to outperform everybody. You got to have huge book sales. And he did. So Eric joined me just a short time ago to talk about all of these developments. We're going to have the whole interview premiering tonight later on the program, but I at least want to bring you his reaction to what's been going down with Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen. But you mentioned something like people are kind of pissed off, like very, very pissed off. And the Epstein stuff has been front and center this week. We're expecting today, of course, the House to vote. Your dad did kind of an about face. This was sort of interesting. On Sunday night, he's like, to heck with it. Like, just put it all out there. Release them all.
So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
Any idea what was going on in his mind, what led him to that decision?
Well, I think it was like a complete thirst trap, right? And like, it literally, I started laughing out loud when he did this, because if you want to talk about 4D chess, right? My father never went to the island. My father threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. In fact, I had one of my attorneys and one of my employees testify about this in one of the trials. You had David Schoen, who was Epstein's attorney, who came out in Twitter not long ago and said, I spoke to Epstein about Donald Trump, and he said that he had absolutely zero involvement. This is Epstein's primary attorney on the case, right? And Maxwell said the same thing, and obviously, a couple of the victims, one of whom's no longer here, horribly, sadly, came out and said, no, never saw Trump. But you know who they did see? They saw Bill Clinton. I mean, do you think Bill Clinton is going to have to testify in front of Congress in Epstein? I have a feeling he will. And by the way, you go through the list of the other Democrats that visited that island. Oh, put them, you know what? I hope they put every single one of them. And so, in a certain way, my father kind of goaded them. And I think it's actually genius, where it's, let's get past this. Let's get past this. Okay, let's release everything, right? And by the way, they've released document after document for months. Let's release everything. And then let's start putting people on the stand, all the people who actually went to the island. You know who never went to the island? Donald Trump. You know who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago? You don't kick friends out of Mar-a-Lago. You know who threw him out like a dog because he was a creep? Donald Trump. You know whose attorney said that Donald Trump was never part of this? Jeffrey Epstein's. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And, it's amazing. Even the pictures that they show, Trish, I mean, the vast majority of the pictures, and by the way, Palm Beach is a really small island. You know how small Palm Beach is. And by the way, if you own Mar-a-Lago, everybody who's at Palm Beach, lives on the island has been through Mar-a-Lago 200 times, right? Like, the vast majority of the pictures were Epstein. I'm normally holding my father's hand. Like, I've seen like 4 or 5 pictures where I'm literally holding his hand at the opening of what looked to be Planet Hollywood or something along those lines, right? As a 7-year-old kid, you don't exactly bring your 7-year-old son with you. So I think it's going to be like the greatest about face. I can't wait till they make the people who went to the island over and over testify. And honestly, I'm just saying this out loud. No one said this. I think we should start with Bill Clinton. Let's start with Bill Clinton, who went to the, you know what? I mean, Epstein was so comfortable.
Well, your dad did say that. And Reid Hoffman and Larry Summers.
Right, let's put Summers on the stand, and let's put Bill Clinton on the stand. And let's show Bill Clinton with this incredible blue dress. I mean, Epstein was so comfortable with him that he dressed Bill Clinton up in a blue dress and had an artist paint this whole scene and had that in his townhouse in New York. So these people were so comfortable with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's put them all on the stand. But I think we should start with Bill Clinton.
I think it's like sordid and disgusting, and I don't want to talk about. Like, I actually avoid it. If it weren't being voted on today, I wouldn't be talking about this with you.
The guy's a disgusting human being. My father threw him out. They released tens of thousands of files, right? I mean, they've already released tens of thousands of files, right? And so, like, I think my father's saying, they're saying, we didn't hear one bit of this narrative for a 4-year period of time under Joe Biden. Does that surprise anybody? It doesn't surprise anybody, because Bill Clinton would have been implicated, Hillary probably, right? And have the Reid Hoffmans, who are massive political fundraisers. In fact, Reid Hoffman was the very person who was apparently funding many of the cases against my father in New York and many of the other places. So, like, does that surprise me that they didn't want to, that they weren't exactly advocating releasing Epstein's files, but now my father's going to release them all. And by the way, bring all those people in, let them all testify. I'm all for it.
It's amazing. We learned this week that the representative from the Virgin Islands, non-voting member of Congress, she was literally texting with Epstein. And this is, by the way, 2019, when Michael Cohen was under his, he's testifying, and he's feeding her questions, which, by the way, makes it look, I'm sorry, but it makes it look like Epstein's in cahoots with the Democrats to try to take your dad down.
And I'm pretty sure everybody knew that the guy was a pedophile at that point, so she's texting.
Oh, she knew.
Right? So, I don't know. I mean, Trish, I know you pretty well. You're a friend of mine at this point, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you don't text pedophiles just for fun. Like, I wouldn't be texting. But these guys are perfectly happy too. I mean,
she had to give back the campaign money.
Hey, so long. So yeah, of course they took a lot of money from him, but so long as it benefits their political cause, they will do anything. And by the way, that's what the book Under Siege was about, right? Like,
yeah.
They only had one mission. That was to take down Donald Trump. It shouldn't surprise anybody that you heard nothing under the Biden administration, and then all of a sudden, the day that Trump comes in, it's Epstein, right? They did this. It's the same way that they inferred that my father did horrible things under the dirty dossier. They made up stories about golden you-know-whats, right? And all other disgusting things. And guess what? You know who that was paid for? It was paid for by the Democrats. It was paid for by Hillary Clinton. It was paid for by that campaign to otherwise take down my father. They made up the most slanderous stories in the world to otherwise undermine my father. Is that not exactly what they're trying to do now? And what's going to happen is
feels like it
backfire on them. Like it's going to backfire on them. It already has backfired on them when you have Jeffrey Epstein's attorney coming out and saying, I specifically asked Jeffrey Epstein about Donald Trump's involvement. And he point blank said that Donald Trump was never involved and never went down that road. And so, put all these people on
they'll take whatever they can get, right? And they've run out of options. I mean, it's kind of amazing. After Fannie Willis and Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith, they still couldn't keep them away, which goes back to why you, sir, are number one on the New York Times bestseller list, because people, I mean, they're with you. I would say at least half the country, maybe more. Just a reminder, you can still get Eric's book and really help. I told him he's going to be the world's record for the New York Times. We'll debut the entire interview there tonight because he had a lot to say on Saudi Arabia. He had a lot to say about investment in the U.S. and how his father's thinking about all of this stuff very differently. And also over on my 76 Research channel, you can see Eric because he's talking a lot about Bitcoin as well. So we'll make sure that we get that posted up there for you. I see you, Don. I know you're always bearish on Bitcoin, but not me. I'm a long-term holder, though. You're a short-term trader. I'm a long-term holder, and Eric and I get into that too. So I encourage you guys to look out for that interview a little later on the program tonight, as well as 76 Research. Meanwhile, woo! ABC, watch out. The president is about to take away your license, your broadcast license. The FCC, you see, they control those things for ABC, CBS, and NBC. And he wasn't too thrilled with the questioning from the ABC News reporter today. I was watching this, and I saw this, and I thought, that's a really kind of harsh way to come in. I mean, I don't think that the questions are inherently bad. They're questions that can be asked and should be asked, but you got to kind of consider, when it's appropriate and how you do it and how you come at it. Because sometimes it's not the question, it's your tone of voice. I've always said this, when I've interviewed people, it's all about letting them come out, making sure, that they feel comfortable. And genuinely, I think people are pretty comfortable with me. But I also think you get, as my mom used to say, more flies with honey than you do with, the zingers. So you want to actually, in order to really get some news and have people open up and talk freely, you don't want to jam them. And this lady's jamming them as hard as she can over and over and over. I think her name is Mary, and she's from ABC News, and he's not happy. I mean, she's jamming him in front of the international press, in front of MBS, so the whole thing was kind of embarrassing. Let's watch.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans
Who are
trust
you
you?
with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
No, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the
But the
worst,
question is
one of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion. That I can tell you right now.
Yeah, that is for sure the truth. He's definitely, and I get into this, you'll see in the interview with Eric, thinking about all this in a pretty innovative way. But, you know, this went on, and it got to the point where it got pretty ugly. You heard her questions. Again, I'm not dinging the questions. They're worthwhile questions. It's just, you know, when you come at it that way, it's not necessarily the right venue. And so you have to kind of consider your surroundings and maybe soften the tone, soften the voice, not be so accusatory. Like it was not well done. Anyway, it was an ugly situation, and it got worse from there. Like the whole thing starts coming off the rails, and he's had it. Like had it with ABC. I mean, don't forget, he's had to see that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Sunny House. Like they are just nonstop. And then you got Georgie Poo on the weekend. They already settled a $16 million lawsuit. I mean, he's so sick of ABC News by this point. And then this happens.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind. It's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files.
By the way, I just want to point out, she's like, why are you waiting for Congress? Like, by the way, Congress did it like an hour later. And now, you know, here live together as we were on the air tonight, the Senate came through and said they're also approving the release. So it's a little strange. He might have wanted to take some of the heat off of him, because I'm telling you, a lot's going to come out and a lot of people are going to be badly exposed. So at least you can say, well, it was Congress, it was the Senate. And by the way, you guys, it was the Dems trying to take me down in the Russia hoax 2.0.
What the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC, because your news is so fake.
Whoa.
And it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump, and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible, and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep, the fund guy, was with him all the time. What's his name?
Reed Hoffman.
Who? Reed Hoffman. I don't know Reed Hoffman. but I know he spends a lot of money
LinkedIn.
on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Oh my gosh. All right. Like, again, he and I are in agreement on that, right? Like sometimes it's not the question. It's the way you ask the question. All right. So like no decorum, no sense of manners, no sense of, being polite. Like it's all right out the window, and it's being done on the international stage with Saudi Arabia right there. And by the way, it was a big deal that he was back in the White House. I don't know if I've ever told you guys this. Maybe I have. So I was with the president in the Oval Office on the day that we found out about Khashoggi. And I asked him, I'm like, so are you going to do anything? And he's like, no. And he looked me straight in the eye, and he was angry. And he said, do you think I'm about to risk 500,000 American jobs for this guy that was not even an American citizen? So Khashoggi was not, I guess he was living here, and he was a reporter for the Washington Post, but it was very clear. Like he said, no, it is not. It is too important to the American economy. We have too much business with them. And I always thought that was really interesting. I mean, it was, a little, he was emphatic. He had already made up his mind. So now MBS is back in the White House. And of course, he's denied it. But our intelligence ops have said that Saudi Arabia had a big hand in all, was responsible for that. And so this comes up, as you can see, like in a very delicate situation. And so he was mad. And what does he have to go back to? Well, here's the thing. I've said to you guys before, the FCC has a responsibility to ensure that these broadcast licenses from the likes of ABC and NBC and CBS are well doled out, and that they're following through with certain standards, because there's something, and some people on the left want them to get rid of this rule. It's a rule from 1949. Some of you here on the show have heard me talk about this before. It's called the Broadcast News Distortion Rule. And if you're distorting the news, if you work for ABC or CBS or NBC, then you run that risk. Now, she wasn't really distorting the news, right? Because it is obviously a concern. Yes, the Trump family has business over there, but what are you supposed to do? Like, you run a huge multinational conglomerate. Like, what are you going to do? Like, just shut down the entire business because you become the president of the United States? That doesn't really make sense. So that's always been an issue for the left. But I'm just kind of like, all right, well, what do we want? A community organizer like Barack Obama running things? I mean, if you're a businessman, you're going to have businesses. Sorry, okay, you gave it to Eric to run. So that, in fairness, okay, fine. So that's a question worth asking. And the Khashoggi one was, in fairness, a question worth asking. So you're not going to get ABC on news distortion. I mean, tone is very debatable and very subjective, but what you can get them on is what they've repeatedly been saying over on The View and over on, Georgie Poo's show and some of the other programs that they have there. That's where you can get them, because news distortion, it says, must involve a significant event and not merely a minor or incidental aspect of a news report. In weighing the constitutionality of the policy, courts have recognized that the policy makes a crucial distinction between deliberate distortion and mere inaccuracy or difference of opinion. So are they deliberately distorting the news? You heard what the president said. He's like, how is it that 97% of the coverage of me is so negative on ABC News all of the time? And yet I won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Why would that be? Unless you guys are so far off because you are distorting the news. So that's the risk that ABC now runs. Now, this is not something that would affect the likes of ESPN, which is also owned by Disney. It's not something that would affect the likes of MSNBC, which is owned still by Comcast, though they're trying to sell it off, and it would not affect the likes of CNN or any of these other cables, or frankly, you know, anything over here that I'm doing on the Trish Regan Show with the YouTube channel or Apple Podcasts or anything like that, right? It only matters for these radio stations and for cable and for, forgive me, not cable networks, but for mainstream media networks. And that is the distinction. And when you think about everything that's happened vis-a-vis Charlie Kirk, vis-a-vis what Jimmy Kimmel said at the time, vis-a-vis Whoopi Goldberg and some of her crazy statements, like enough is enough is enough. And so we're now getting to a point, I think, as a society, we're getting so darn sick of it. And now these networks are worried. And I know they're worried because if you look at what happened with Whoopi Goldberg the other day on the air, remember, we talked about this. She literally got a note, even though she was making a joke, some stupid joke. I really don't find her sense of humor very funny. And the producers called her out in real time. Watch.
The other insane thing is that when people are going to go to their meetings with the judge, the meetings that they're supposed to go to, when they're listening to what the hell, what?
I love when Sonny passes notes.
We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to part. It was a joke.
Yeah. We don't know if Trump used an auto pen.
Oh, come on.
But we do know that he didn't know who that crypto guy was.
Well, I'm sorry. You know, the hardest thing about this job now is no one understands nuance. You know when you hear a joke, when somebody's fooling around, when they're not saying something specific, especially on this show. I'm very specific when I'm pointing stuff out. When I'm making jokes, you know when I'm making jokes. This is ridiculous.
Our thanks to Media Research Center for providing that clip. They do a good job at finding some of these Whoopi Goldberg clips now and then. But, you know, I can tell you, like, one of the things that I worry about is if we don't see the GOP stay in charge come the midterms, I worry about what that's going to mean for the media. I mean, I think about just my own experience over the last however many years. Ever since Donald Trump's been on the scene, you've kind of had this pressure, right? Because if you're pro-Trump, then, cancel. And look, I've been through it. I lived through it at Fox, where, you know, you dare to say something that is out of step with where the left wants you to be, and if it's too out of step, then you're going to pay a price for it. So I think we have to be realistic about what's happening right now, and if Congress were to take control, God forbid, right next year, then they would be able to block President Trump's agenda, and that's a scary thought. So, you know, we don't want that to happen under any circumstances. Right now, they're probably freaking out because they got the Epstein files coming out, and they're going to be all over them. So I don't think this is a good scenario for them going into midterms. But I'll tell you, we got a lot of work to do that has to get done. You heard the president say we got to focus on affordability. We got to focus on the best possible ways, right, to make sure that Americans have more money in their pockets with lower mortgage rates, maybe the 2K checks, the rebate tariff checks. He's talking about everything he can do to bring down gas prices by allowing for more drilling. And he's also committed to this healthcare reform and these tax credits. So that's an important thing to think about. And I want to just mention it because it's why one of our show sponsors here, we love our friends over at Americans for Balanced Budgets. They're calling on Congress to basically reverse a massive healthcare tax hike that is set to hammer millions and millions of hardworking Americans with higher costs. Congress needs to extend critical healthcare tax cuts and credits that keep the premiums affordable for working families so they can buy their own coverage, right? With open enrollment underway, many are already facing some sticker shock. I know you guys have messaged me about it on the chat, and I appreciate you doing that. Monthly premiums are set to double for most, but there is still time to act. Our friends over at Americans for a Balanced Budget have a great place for you to go. I'm going to put it on the screen at this moment. It's called Stop Health Cost Hikes.com. Do you got that? Stop Health Cost Hikes.com. So go there, check it out, and find out how you can get involved because we don't want these prices going up. We need to think about innovative, conservative policies to keep prices lower and to keep market competition going, right? Really, really important stuff to do at this moment in time. But I'll just say this. I don't think the Democrats had any clue really what they were getting into. I think that this is going to bite them badly in the you-know-what. And just like everything did, I mean, whether it was Letitia James, I mean, that whole thing turned on its head. That helped get him elected. I mean, you think about Fannie Willis, that helped get him elected. And here you get Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, okay, fine. All right, we're going to expose Hakeem Jeffries. We're going to expose Plaskett. We're going to expose Clinton. And Reed? Oh, gosh. I don't know what's going to happen to my LinkedIn account. It's going to be ugly. So get your popcorn ready, okay? We're going to be here. I don't love covering this story, but like I got to say, like at this point, they did it to themselves, all right? They did it to themselves, so be it. What can we say? They are somewhat masochistic. I would just say somewhat masochistic when it is all said and done. I see you guys agree with me. Exactly. Alpha Omega Studios says. So we shall see, you guys. I love having you here. Thank you for everything you do. We're going to be back live with more on the Trish Regan Show tomorrow. Make sure that you subscribe, share, like, all the good stuff. Make a comment. I do actually read them all. And when you see the responses, it's actually me. Yeah. I can't really have anybody else do that. You know, for me, it's me. As I once learned in this business early on, what you see is what you get, because it's all I got. Right? Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.